Hello everybody. Sorry I'm late. Last time on our magical Wurt-tastic adventure, we managed to get our king and his troop ready for action. We also found a certain item that will, speed up the goal of turning the entire desert into a swamp massively. So today, we're going to see about doing just that. But that's not all. There's something we gotta see to which I alluded to in the last episode. Something a lot of you have been wanting for a long time. And when I say something, I mean someone. But enough waffling on, let's hop into what is going to be a very eventful and exciting autumn. And also, just a heads up, this was recorded before the Wurt insight tree was added. I was going to get this video out before that update dropped, but I got a little bit sidetracked. So enjoy this limited edition pre-rework Wurt. Rewort? Whatever. Ah yes, day 36. Last time we wrapped up summer and it went well, all things considered. We got our king and merm guards set up, but if we want to do anything worthwhile with them, we're going to need a heck of a lot more. We also are going to need to get a little bit more food, since whilst this amount of food is tolerable, it won't be forever, especially with another mouth to feed. Oh, but speaking of mouths to feed, I think I gotta go grab a certain special somebody. Just gotta hike past the stinky lure plants growing in the wasteland of a desert I may have created a few days ago, up past a couple of fields, down the road.
No way, who's this? No way.
Tig's back. Oh, it's gonna be just like old times. For those wondering where Tig has been the entire time, nowhere. We just never got around to recording together. But that's changed now. We've got an extra pair of hands to not only achieve our goal of improving this desert, but also surviving long into the later years, and fail those endgame bosses I'm hoping to eventually get to. And what better way to do that than for Tig to do what they do best? Farm. If I'm going to be playing my main in this series, then Tig is going to be playing theirs too. It's Wurt and Wormwood time once more. A good character combo all things considered. Wormwood can provide Wurt and themselves with lots of veggies, of which Wurt will gain increased benefit from, as well as keeping the king of the merms fed. In return, Wurt can provide Wormwood with an excess of random and identified seeds thanks to the king of the merms' rewards. Good timing for such a connection too, since our food wasn't the best and we had plenty of seeds that needed planting. So after I set up the digger-majig for Tig's farm, I took a few of my boys into the nearby forest to not get wood, but instead beat the Christ out of this nearby spider queen. Good source of spider drops and a way to relocate spider dens to wherever we want them. Didn't take long at all thanks to my merms and their everything. With the silk I got from killing that spider queen, I made myself an ocean trawl net. I plopped it right down next to Tig's farm since they'll be able to keep an eye on it when they're farming. With this, we'll have a passive income of fish to keep the king of the merms placated. It saves us the effort of having to fish ourselves. So here we both are now, on day 38. Tig is nursing their farm proper and fine, which means soon we're going to need a lot more space to store and prepare all of our food. So I took my army into the woods and burnt down a couple of trees to get some charcoal. For more crockpots, of course. I almost burnt myself due to the temperature shifting in early autumn, but I was fine. I even remembered to swing by that tree guard we left here last episode to wrap up some unfinished business. Very nice. More living logs for Tig's magical plant-like creature crafts that won't force them to lop off a limb. The first few autumnal days were spent just settling in. It was our first time in a long time playing Don't Starve together, so Tig spent that time setting up their farm whilst I cleaned up and expanded the base for them. Sure, it's an organised mess to me, but to them, it's just a mess. A very damp and fishy mess. I set up that other crockpot I set out to get the other day next to the fridges, except they were all in a weird spot. So I destroyed the entire kitchen area and rebuilt it in a better spot. I am very picky when it comes to this type of stuff, okay? Especially since I rarely use more than one crockpot until recently. Also had to make sure Tig's farm was looking all nice with a little bit of chic marble flooring. Originally I wasn't too keen on how this base looked, but I have to admit it is slowly growing on me. Much like how I've been slowly growing my marsh turf all over this desert and even into the forest slightly. If we're going to want this to be any faster though, we'll need to get more turf-rasier helmets. They need beefalo wool and we don't have enough to make more, so I set out towards those beefalo on the outside of the map to shear them once more. Preferably in better shearing conditions? Never mind. Gotta do this dangerous nighttime shearing again. Which, as you can see come daylight, all went as well as you could expect. We didn't get hurt, but we didn't get anywhere near as much beefalo wool as I would have liked. We got enough for 2, maybe 3 more turf-rasier helmets, which wouldn't be enough to completely do the desert over. But I ain't gonna bother with these beefalo again until they're out of breeding season, so I'll gladly wait until then. On my way back home, I made sure to grab some extra sapling and grass tufts, since our base could do with a couple more basic resources, especially since it's, a desert. Well, for now. Soon though, the word desert will be a distant memory. Welcome to day 42. These days have been blitzing by since we've been dashing around the constant back and forth. Hopefully today will be yet another relaxing day. Oh, that's the bearger.
Oh, yeah, I just heard
Oh,
him.
for God's sake, okay, I guess not. I totally forgot about this guy. Yeah, the bearger. The bloke that rocks up at your base on the 2nd, or first is starting in spring, autumn, to eat all your food and hopefully not smash your base up. I thought ahead, however, and made sure to grab everything edible from my chest and leave a little trail of honey leading the guy away from anything particularly destructible, as well as recruiting a small army of merms, of course. As you can see, the fight went as well as ever. Just remember the basic kiting method and watch for the super slam every 3rd combo. The merms did get their business rocked, but they're disposable, don't forget. More fishies though. I took an odd hit here and there, as did Tig, but we felled the guy as fast as he arrived. Easy peasy. Especially so thanks to Wurt's strong grip, making her immune to dropping her items from certain attacks, including the bearger's swipe. We ported all of his loot back to the base, as well as all of the fishies dropped to the king of the merms for a bunch of rewards, letting our soldiers benefit the kingdom even after death. Also, as you can see, Tig's farm had started to pay out massively already. Once their soil had the nutrients, we'll be getting giant crops like it's nobody's business. Tig is a master at farming, after all. Our food situation went from oh dear to oh yes as soon as they turned up. I missed you, Tig. But it was day 43. After that eventful day yesterday, Tig decided to show off their telekinetic abilities.
I mean, no.
You put it in the air.
How did I do that?
How did you do that? What the hell? Is it like And as well as that, I needed to gather materials. For 2 things. The first was a cartographer's table so I could convert these bum blueprints into paper, and then turn that paper into a map, so Tig could see all that I've uncovered so far. The second thing I needed materials for were spears for more merm guard huts. That bearger fight, as well as giving me a bunch of fish, proved to me that my army isn't as mighty as I wanted it to be. So with the tentacle spots I've been amassing from my troll net and fallen soldiers, I decided it was time to make more guardhouses. So on this day, I took care of a few base chores, gathered a bunch of grass and twigs to make the spears I'll need for the guardhouses, and on the next day, I took a group of freshly respawned merms into the forest to do what they do best. Absolutely nothing because I got sidetracked and went into the caves to get more marsh turf. Tig and I were talking a bit too much and I forgot why I brought these merms into the forest to begin with. Whoops. I blame this on the fact we started a new recording session and forgot what we were doing. She's slur on my Urtle. Nay, there's a slurtle stuck over the void. Looks like a friend. Dude, slurls are friends. Well, I broke the turf-rasier helm on some marsh turf to get a couple of stacks of the stuff, turning this already inhospitable heck hole into a barren, inhospitable heck hole. It's deceptive how much turf you can raise with these helmets, and I barely had enough room to carry out the marsh turf I managed to get with only around 30% durability on one helmet. Sure, I didn't exactly plan for this trip and got distracted by pursuits of grandeur, but hey, we gotta turn this desert into a marsh at some point, surely. I marched my way back out of the caves, passing by the incredibly determined tentacle, as well as this guy again. No, this guy is still stuck over the void. He's in a different position now, he moved. I arrived back on the surface of day 45 to make myself another turf-rasier helm with the beefalo wool I got a few days back, as well as the desert stones we got last summer. God, I hope you have enough to last us until next summer, since there's no way of getting them outside of summer. Here's willing. I then donned my crown once more and, oh yeah, it never gets old. We got a decent patch of it down, but looking at it now, maybe the goal of getting this entire desert done by winter was a little bit far-fetched. Though, nothing is stopping us doing this during winter. except for the fact the ground would be super hard to see. Not a problem right now though. What would be a problem, however, is the fact I've been foregoing picking up all these turf tiles. Now, there's several ways I could take care of them, like burning them, but in the last video I mentioned using a mole worm to slowly relocate the turf tiles one by one. But as we also saw in the last video, we gotta be careful with where we actually place the mole worms thanks to the vultures. So I just plopped the mole worm right in the base next to all my turf piles. I think I made this mole worm the happiest little guy ever. These guys don't actually ever eat turf or rocks, they just relocate them back to their mole den, which if you dig up with a shovel, they'll just make a new den nearby, wherever you drop them. I made sure to place it inside the oasis so the vultures wouldn't kill it. Now, it will slowly venture out further and further, getting more turf tiles. Sure, it might die a few times, but it'll always respawn back at this hole. All of this hassle could be avoided if I just picked up the turf tiles though. Being so lazy you end up doing more work in the long run is my motto. Okay, right, so after that slight diversion of going into the caves, getting the turf tiles and returfing the surface, I recruited my merms and took them into the forest to chop wood like I was supposed to do back all those days ago. But of course, as tradition, it seems another tree guard spawned. I swear I'm getting this way more than I usually do. Thankfully, it was only one this time, so I dug up stumps while my merm smashed its head in, all the way through to the morning of day 47. Since it was just one tree guard, the merms were able to take care of it with 0 losses. Isn't Wurt just the best? Man, it would be crazy if the next update she got a massive insight tree that makes her insanely strong, but that would be crazy, they would never do that. We got as much wood as we could carry and swung back onto the base around the evening to start work on the merm guard houses. Of course, I remembered to give Tig the pine cones to plant an even bigger forest, as well as replenish their sanity whenever they needed it. So, for the merm guard houses, they each need 5 boards on top of everything else, so we may need to make more trips out to the lumberyard every so often. Especially at this rate we're getting tentacle spots thanks to that troll net. But before we can make any more merm guard houses, which by the way they're not even called that, they're called fortifications, I just refuse to call them that, another hound attack turned up. But since all of the hounds crawled in one at a time, they were easy to clear out with our merms, especially since we didn't even get any special hounds yet. A fire hound could have caused a little bit of an issue there however, since it is autumn. After ogling Tig's big potato, I finally, after like 5 days later than I originally planned, got some merm guard houses down. One here, and another one over there. Mid-construction we got a visit from our old friend Big Fly, which wasn't a bother at all thanks to my slowly increasing army. If anything, a benefit since Tig now has their fruit fly friend to help them stay on top of their farms. Anyway, another guardhouse here, 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 and here. That's a lot of guardhouses wrapped neat and tidily around our base. Calling this a base is a bit of an understatement since we're rapidly approaching city classification at this rate. You can't get this with any other character, except maybe any other character if you want to use pig houses or rabbit hutches, but we all know those are inferior to merms. But what better way to show off my merm strength than to bring a siege to the Pig King's village? I gathered all of my troops I could and travelled throughout the cover of night, arriving at their borders in the early hour of day 49. I catch them fighting frogs. My friends, my allies, this won't do at all. And as quickly as we arrived, we left nothing but corpses. Yeah, I mean, merms are slightly stronger than pigmen, especially when you double their numbers. Didn't really get much from doing this trip, 4 meat and 1 pigskin. It wasn't really worth it at all. Oh well, it was still worth it for the gross display of power. Eventually I'm going to, and gosh now that I'm saying it out loud feels even weirder, build a pig village closer to our base, solely for the purpose of beating them up whenever they respawn for their goodies. That's for the future. For now, I took my still strong army to the surface quote-unquote swamp to beat up a couple of tentacles. They're able to kill the things before they even have a time to react. This ends up netting us perhaps a bit too many tentacle spikes and a couple of spots. Gosh, I feel indestructible with all these merms following me. It turns out a couple of the grass tufts turned into geckos whilst I was out and about. We got a few extra tufts, so I replaced all I could and fertilised them. Yeah, it's a good thing they haven't added sapling geckos, or berry bush geckos, yet. The geckos themselves didn't really fit the swamp aesthetic I'm going for, but it's free, cute grass, so I won't complain. I'll take a glass over Tig's forest to be in anticipation of how much wood it'll get me. Soon. For now, I send my lads over to the usual forest that is somehow still in one piece despite how many times I've swung down there to get, you guessed it, more wood. Good thing that Wurt is good at gathering wood, since by lord does she need a lot of it. Plus, wood is just one of those things that you always need for everything, especially if you're big on making your bases look cool, or like making a bunch of chests for example. Let's not forget though, these forests are also owned by the spiders. Well, in theory at least, since my guys turn them into a concept the second they try to attack us. Free silk for me. I really gotta see about moving some spider dens close by and making an automatic silk and gland farm soon, don't I? For now though, I pack a lunch for me and my king, since I'm going to be out of the base for a while. And where exactly am I going? Well, as you can see by me clearing out my inventory, we're going back underground to get as many marsh turfs as our remaining 64% turf-rasier helm will let us. I dive down into the caves once more, go back to my ecological disaster that laid under our oasis, even meeting a few friends once more.
Those are
The
rare.
void
Those are
slurtle
difficult
is
to get.
still here. And the one attacking the tentacle is still here as well.
But enough socializing, time for the time lapse. And there we go. That's 12 and a bit stacks of turf. And look at how different this place looks now. Looks kinda nice down here. Way brighter and less evil looking. Gonna have to see about terraforming other biomes in future playthroughs, huh? Time to get out of here once more, saying goodbye to the slurtles and tentacles and saying hello to Tig, their farm, my merm king, and my merm army. I'm proud of all of this, Tig included. Day 53. Tig blessed my morning with an inventory of popperfish, which, in this version of the game, would be just considered food for the king of the merms, so no rewards for me. This does get changed in the latest version, however. We did end up catching some normal fish thanks to the trawl nets. Who needs regular fishing? Also, this one fish gave us 3 tentacle spots. Must have been a lunker. But, it's time. It's time I take my entire army and absolutely level this forest that Tig planted. I wish I did it during the day so it was more spectacular, but don't you worry, it sounded amazing. Right, time to pick up all of this stuff and dig up the stumps. Apparently some people just burn the stumps after they're done with them, which, yeah, I get that to be honest. Fortunately, in the next update as well, or well, current update, because we're watching this 8 months in the future, merms will dig up their stumps for me. Kind of. Either way, our wood situation is sorted once more. Unless I end up making another 20 houses or so. Which, I may or may not have ended up doing. Not 20 of course, but like, a few. A shower did start and I did risk freezing since it's nearly winter and the ambient temperature is dropping. Wet scales and cold air do not mix. But do you know what mixes? Tig in a farm plot, look at all of this. Food is merely a concept when Tig's got their hands on Wormwood. Gosh, I made it sound like they're going to eat him. Oh yeah, winter. Welcome to, winter. Kinda crept up on us, didn't it? Thank you guys for watching. There's still a little bit more of pre-rework work footage on top of the post-rework that will knock out right about now. I don't want a potential 4th episode to still contain several month-old footage. I'm really good at staying on top of my projects, as you all know. Right, winter. It's cold. All of these merm houses I made won't help me stay warm, but by gosh will they keep me safe. As long as I remember that these guys take forever to respawn during winter. I'm pretty sure that gets changed in the current version, but this isn't the current version, thanks to Mr. Get Sidetracked by a new fancy video format. That's neither here nor there. What is here and there is a boat. I spend the first few days of winter mostly preparing for the cold front, but do make myself all the things I need for a proper vessel, fit with a sail and everything. So on day 57, I put my little ship together for whatever purpose it calls for. As I mentioned in the last episode many months ago, winter is the best time for sailing. Staying warm is easy, no rain to deal with, no storms, food doesn't stop growing, and those evil monkeys shouldn't harass you, keyword being shouldn't. Either way, I get my boat set up with a sail and everything. I even chuck an icebox and a tin fishing bin, since I hope to catch some super useful seasonal exclusive fish with this boat. Won't be able to use them for food, but Tig might. But before I sail out, I grab myself some merms. Will it be crowded and awful? Yes, it is. However, before we sailed off, I wanted to grab some stingers to make boat repair kits, since I didn't want to lose all of this boat. So after murking Mac Tusk and getting absolutely nothing, Tig hands me a handful of stingers on the dawn of day 58. With these in hand, we set off. My goal for this trip is to find some ice breams. Useful fish for a multitude of reasons, but the one I'm keen on is that holding the fish functions as a permanently cold thermal stone. Well, semi-permanently as long as the fish is still alive. But remember, any fish held in Wurt's inventory die way slower, so it's super useful for her. So if I was to catch like 2 of these, I could cycle them between me and the tin fishing bins come summer to make sure they're always alive. So why did I bring Tig and like 7 merms with me? Company. And in case we come across any danger, of course. Speaking of danger, we found the Moon Key, which already has a merm on it for some reason. Remember when I said winter is the best time for sailing like 3 times in the past? This is another reason. The powder monkeys don't harass you during winter at all, choosing to stay inside their houses instead, letting us get all of the banana bushes and monkey tail reeds we desire. It's so awesome. But that's not why we came out here. It's super good knowing this is close by, however. Or not, if you consider the fact raids happen the closer you are to the key at any given time, but my banana bushes decided otherwise. Back to looking for ice breams we went, and we searched. And we searched. And searched. These things are kind of rare. They're fast too, but we found some. Their speed makes them a bit hard to track, but not impossible. Also, probably doesn't help that I'm not using any lures to catch them, just berries for bait. However, with a little bit of patience, I was able to land one. Catching fish right next to you instantly lets you pull them to land, which is good for these fish since the next one I hooked put up a super hard fight and broke my line. But here's another trick. If you got a friend and you're reeling in a tough fish, just get them to row you closer to the fish so you can catch it without putting up a fight at all. Which gets you 2 ice breams. Exactly what I set out here to get. Now I could catch a third to give to Pearl for her quest and a fishing lure. So we do just that. 3 ice breams. You know it's a good morning when I'm fishing. We grabbed these 2 bottles right next to each other as the reason I brought my merms turned up. It was a little bit scary, but we took care of it no issue thanks to how broken merms are. Sadly, we now have cursed monkey trinkets hogging up our inventory, so we gotta get rid of these whenever we can. But besides curses, we also got the battle paddle, which is a super good paddle / weapon, but also a treasure map. Turns out there's some buried treasure in our desert / soon to be swamp. Now we could sail home, or we could sail all day and night to arrive at Pearl's place. We had its location marked out ages ago, so we may as well, yeah? As soon as we touched down, we got to work on the drying rack chore, and when she finally wakes up on day 62, she rewards us for our efforts of putting stuff on the ground on the hooks with our pinch and winch blueprint. We also gave her that cool fish that we caught, which ended up not being big enough. You're kidding me. Good thing we caught 3 of them, cause one of the others was big enough, giving us a snowy lure advert, which lets us make a lure great for catching fish whenever it snows. So after I moved all of the bells from Pearl's Island onto the boat specifically to annoy Tig, we sailed on back. Sadly though, Tig was slowly going insane this entire trip. I don't mean because of all the bells on the boat, I literally mean their sanity had dropped to the pits.
Ow, what just hit me? I'm on 4 health. I'm dead. Oh, that's wild.
Well, it wouldn't be a boat trip with Tig and Ash if it didn't go massively wrong, would it? No matter. On the dusk of... oh, there's more of these guys. Bye!
Alright, well, bye. Ryan, well, that's a problem.
I fell into the ocean!
Just swim towards me.
What do you mean? I'm in the ocean!
Wait, what?
I'm
Did
on
you
land,
get
I drowned! That happened? Well, the more you know. Apparently you can drown by missing a boat. Thankfully I didn't wash up too far from the base, so I made Tig their telltale heart and hopped on a spare boat that we had to rescue them and the boat I spent so long getting. But more importantly, Tig, obviously. The boat is gone. Where's the boat? The boat is gone. Thankfully, Tig was able to track the boat down as a ghost and we managed to get all of their stuff and the boat back. Success. Ignore where my merms went, they're not important. What's more important is that Tig was able to sail back home with their stuff and a bunch of shell bells. What a trip that was, huh? But that, I think, is a great place to call it for this episode. This was the end of the footage we recorded right before Wurt got her insight tree. I know this video was grossly out of date, but I didn't want to keep this series in limbo forever. Let me know if we should continue this wacky and silly world down below. I'm always open to it. But for now, thank you guys for watching and being ever so patient. I love all of you and hope you all have an amazing day. Bye bye everybody.